Okay, time for some more dryland action as we head back to Wakefield Park for the Momo Course Sports Sedans. Welcome back to Wakefield Park Raceway, the second race of the day for the Momo Course Sports Sedans, and as you can imagine, conditions haven't got any warmer here at Goulburn. Ian Luff, do you think we'll see a change from Graham Smith's domination?
Well, pretty hard with that Fiat. It is so fast around the circuit, absolutely blindingly quick. Bill Harris, the big mover, but speaking of movers, look at Greg McShane blasted through the gap, absolutely sensational. He's been using tyre warmers, as we said before, and this is making a big difference getting it off the line.
Well, I'll tell you what, we were talking about the grunt from Smith, but McShane's managed to hold his own. Now the feed will start to wind up a little bit. It's going to be interesting up here. They've got a tight left-hander. Who's going to win the battle? Smith closes the door and McShane says, thank you very much, I'll take this corner, I own it. The car is a lot lighter. He probably does have that advantage and is able to drive around him there, Ian.
Well, light cars, like we said, make a big difference. Billy Martin's car, that is super light. That's all plastic. Big Chevy motor. We're on board with Ron O'Brien. Now this has got to be one of the biggest, power drivers in the whole sports sedan racing. He just loves his racing. Look at the hands all around the steering wheel, grabbing gears. Looks like he's trying to dial STD on the steering wheel.
Big drive job from Ron O'Brien. We saw him in the first race, unfortunately, with the spin. That put him out of contention, but he wants to change things for race two. Bill Harris leads it at the moment from Smith. Big lunge under brakes. I don't think he's close enough to get up the inside, but really is close to his tail and will get the drag down the straight. McShane trying everything up the inside. As you said, it's his last race after 27 years of motor racing, and he wants to throw everything at it. Look at the horsepower of Graham Smith, though. Winds up the big Commodore, the BP Commodore of Bill Harris. Once he's in the lead, it's going to be hard to stop.
Well, speaking of stopping, brakes play a big part here at Wakefield. You come down the main straight, lots of brake temperature, and with it being so cold, what you've got to be careful of is that the brakes don't sort of, what we say, cool out. And you can very easily lock wheels, as we saw them. That's exactly what happened with Harris. The brakes just cool down so quickly, even though you're using a lot of braking, that you can tend to lock the wheel. So it really comes back to having a very sensitive foot. Get on the brakes, squeeze it like the big orange, and just make sure that you don't flat spot the tyres.
Now, the lack of the splitter on the front of Graham Smith's car, where will that hurt him on a circuit like Wakefield, Ian?
Well, probably coming down into the tight corners like we've got here, it won't make too much of a difference. A low-speed corner doesn't need the same amount of aerodynamics. But up this back right-hander where it's going fairly quick, the downforce at the front on that front splitter really pulls the front tyres down and helps the car turn in. So he'd find on the low-speed corners not too much problem. This corner here, I suppose, not too many dramas as long as he doesn't out-brake himself. Very easy to come in too deep, lock the brakes up, and basically that's what he did in the race one.
We can see the field not too spread out at the moment. Track conditions still fairly cold, so I think tyres not quite up to temperature. Greg McShane with tyre warmers, so that does account for his good starts and his hot performance earlier on. Bill Harris on screen once again. McShane very close to him, but I'm surprised that Graham Smith has not stretched out and been able to run away. Bill Martin at the moment really closing up very close behind Greg McShane. He didn't fare too badly in the first race, a third place for him. He wants to improve it on this race though.
Well, Billy Martin's a speedway guy, used to going sideways in the dirt, made the big conversion, had an LJ Tirana with a big grunty V8 in it, and he's made the transition to circuit racing and is having a big ball throwing this Mazda with the Chev engine around here at Wakefield.
Great sports sedan action here for Momo Course. Look how tight the top four are. Very rare do we see that, considering the cars are so large. Graham Smith obviously with a weight advantage over the cars behind him, so he shouldn't be challenged under brakes down into this right-hander. But when the cars get onto a straight, I want to see the horsepower of the big Momo Falcon to see whether he can close up behind Bill Harris. On board again with Ron O'Brien, and you can see that Bill Martin is very close. The top four actually here, not spread out by much at all.
Well, that's right. The cool weather making a big difference here. Martin having a look down the outside. That is a super brave move. Will McShane go on with it? I'll tell you what, this speedway racer, Billy Martin, he has made the conversion, as we said. Look at this, the grunt in this RX-7. It's absolutely sensational vehicle with a huge wing. It looks like an ironing board on the back of the car. That's pushing the tyres down into the roadway, and he is the mover and shaker in this race.
Just shows how well that car was set up. Managed to drive around the outside of McShane. Once it was settled, he was able to get the power down, and it just charged away from the Momo Falcon. He is a real mover in the field at the moment. I am very surprised that Graham Smith hasn't bolted. He fell back a little bit in the first race and just charged through the field. But however, the rest of the competitors at the moment are able to be sticking with him. Smith hasn't really stretched out as far as I thought he would.
Well, I spoke to the crew after race one and they said the oil leak that the car has still got is a major problem. What they're trying to do is they're playing the percentage game. They want to take out the trophy, which is all 3 races. So what they're looking for is to see how many points they can score. So they said that Smithy, instead of revving it out to about 8,500 plus, because he gives this car a huge rev, he's going to cut it back, and that's probably why the car hasn't got as much straight line speed. Speaking of straight line speed, Billy Martin down the outside once again having a look. I tell you what, he is really going to push on regardless.
Yes, he's up into second place at the moment. We're back on board again with Ron O'Brien. He's starting to slip back a little bit, but still enjoying his racing. Will stay in that number 5 spot, I'm pretty sure. Tell you what, McShane really got a lot of heart this weekend. Has a look up the inside of Harris. Harris shuts the door on him again. The car's got plenty of horsepower, and I tell you what, look how tight these front 4 are. Great racing here at Wakefield.
Well, the Roadrunner repairs Commodore, as we said, the Valiant powered, sounds unusual, a Valiant powered Commodore, but it works very effectively. Billy Harris puts together a very good car. It's his own team. He's got his kids with him down here. It's a real family effort, and he really throws his number 7 Commodore around with Gay Abandon. Look at it, gets the power down so well, and that really comes back, Nathan, to the overall balance, and it probably works a little bit better than the Momo Monster of Greg McShane's.
Yeah, it doesn't have the engine set back like we'd find in Bill Martin's car. The small block sitting more mid-mounted than McShane's. McShane's car, the engine's still in its original position. A lot of steel in this car. He was very disappointed when he had to put fiberglass panels on the front of it to save some weight. Look at him get squeezed by Harris here. Tries to go down the inside of this right-hander. Will it pay off for him? No. I tell you what, Harris's car a little bit better under brakes.
Well, that's a brave move. I would have thought McShane would have sort of had the brave tablets to go on with it, but as you can see, the big car, the big Falcon sliding away. Look at this, we've got a Volvo station wagon in front. I'll tell you what, they've probably got the family hamper in the back, and the racing here, as we said, sports sedans can be any sort of car. You can have anything like, as we said, the Volvo wagon. It does work effectively, running a fairly small engine, but that's what makes sports sedan racing so interesting. Anything goes, any sort of engine, and basically, as we said, look at this, out in front, Billy Martin.
Definitely the mover of this race, that's for sure, and should be able to drive away from the rest of the field now that he is out in front. However, from what we've seen of the race so far, hopefully the battle for second place will stay nice and tight.
Well, as we said, Smithy's really driving the percentage game. That's a smart driver. He's saying, well, hang on, I've got to be there at the end because we say the race is the one right at the end, so he's looking after his machinery. It is so easy to go out there and do the blinder and end up with blistering the tyres. Not that that would happen here at Wakefield today. I can tell you what, the tyres will never get near temperature, and that's probably what's affecting Greg McShane's big Falcon more than anything else. If you could get lots of temperature into that car, it would start to work a lot more. Heavier car, tends to want to slide a bit there, but that Harris Commodore, he is absolutely slamming the gate at every opportunity.
Well, Bill Harris is really in a similar position to that of Greg McShane. However, it does have the Chrysler engine, so probably not so much weight up front, but it still has a engine relatively in a normal position. Graham Smith's car, for example, in front of him has a Hewland transaxle in the back of it. The car a little bit more balanced, so probably would tend to handle a bit better. It's not surprising to see it out in front. So what I'm getting at is really is a good performance from the Falcon and the Commodore to be so far up the front of the field.
Well, you're right, Nathan Prendergast. The little Smith Fiat, very unusual car. I mean, Graham Smith, I've raced against him many times. He really is a very cool, calculating driver. He'll have one eye on the mirror. He'll be watching Harrison saying, well, hang on a minute. If I see you coming down the inside, I'm going to slam the gate. And he really does make that Fiat a very wide car. So what he's really looking for, speaking of looking, have a look at this. McShane going for the inside again. Harris is moving over. Look, McShane is on the grass. These guys are taking no quarter. I'll tell you what, McShane has got the biggest set of brakes here at Wakefield Park today.
Tell you what, 27 years in it, and he really is going out nearly with a bang. A very, very good drive from McShane. A lot of courage. I would have backed off there, but no way. He stayed on the throttle, driving onto the grass. And I tell you what, Bill Harris at the last minute has decided, well, I suppose I better give you a little bit of room because this corner's going to be too tight for both of us to go through. He didn't get by him, though. I tell you what, I'm very surprised at how well that car's handling this tight stuff around the back of the circuit. We haven't seen these cars separated by more than 3 car lengths.
Well, close racing is what it's all about. Coming up on the back of the black Corolla, that's Handy and Leishman. That's a very quick Corolla, but when you look at the front cars, look, he's moving out the way. Harris, Smith, and the big Momo Monster of Greg McShane pushing their way through. Look, Leishman wants to go on with it. He's saying, well, hang on, I'm here racing at the same time, so you go round if you can find your way.
For the final time, the cars will make it down to the right-hander that leads them onto the straight. Bill Martin it is that leads them at the moment from Smith, then Harris. The checkered flag is on display. It's been a great drive from Martin, a very deserved win. A nice strong drive, and Bill Martin takes it out from Graham Smith. Then it's back to Bill Harris and Greg McShane and the big Momo Falcon in for 4th place. Great drive, Ian Luff.
Sensational. Wakefield Park and Sports Sedans. What a wicked combination. I'm with Greg McShane. In fact, a hot Greg McShane after Heat 2 of the Momo Sports Sedans at Wakefield Park. 4th place, Greg. Pretty good effort. How was it from your perspective?
Not bad. A good start again, I think, really helped. But it's hot, and the track's getting faster, so it'll be interesting to see what lap times were for that race, you know.
You say it's hot. I tell you what, the ambient temperature here is absolutely freezing, but inside the car, it's pretty hot by the look of you.
Yeah, I think it's probably up around 40 degrees C, so it's pretty warm. And you drink water throughout, even an 8-lap race, you know, you're drinking about half a litre of water.
On the main straight, there was an exciting moment there between yourself and Harris. It looked like Harris put the squeeze on you.
Yeah, he's pretty good at that, isn't he? I mean, yeah, he just squeezed me for what was only 3/4 of the width of my car. If I was a little car, I would have gotten by. But actually, I was out in the grass in the straight, still flat and top, and I thought, no, I'd like to bring it back, you know, in one piece if I can. So I sort of had to get out of it. But yeah, he had the line and was just forcing the issue, you know.
Final heat coming up at 3 o'clock. How do you think you'll fare in that? From 4th position on the grid, that's an excellent starting spot. How do you feel?
Well, I think we'll do probably similar. I'd say that Bill Martin's pretty quick. That's pretty obvious. He got past Graham Smith in that. And Bill Harris, I just got to get in front of him off the start. Like, you just cannot get past that guy. It's as wide as a Mack truck.